Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, all over the globe. Today I have something special for you because Roland is with me, not behind the camera like usual, but today I have him in front of the camera with me, supporting me on the Audyssey Dirac training webinar we have today. In Hong Kong, as usual, we have Frederick supporting us. How are you today?
Very well, yourself?
All good here, yeah. All fine, Roland?
Yeah, fine.
Ready to rumble. In the background, we have Kevin helping us out with electronics and switching and all the transmission and broadcasting stuff here, so it's all good. We are set. Target of these webinars is actually to give you a bit of an insight on Dirac, but also covering Audyssey, because Audyssey is one of our technologies we are carrying for many years, and it will not get replaced by Dirac, but we are going to add Dirac to our portfolio and the opportunities you have to do room calibration. So you will first get a quick run through both of the room correction technologies, and then we will have a deeper dive into Dirac just to show you how to set it up, what's needed, what's required, how to work with the tool. But let's say we are keeping it on the level that actually will show you what you need to do, what requirements are there, what kind of setup is needed. But in the end, we only can recommend you to try it yourself, because only by experience you will also get the best performance out of your Dirac calibration, which actually counts also if you go into Audyssey and not just using the standard Audyssey calibration, which is integrated into the receiver. But if you want to go more under the hood, you know, we have the Audyssey Mighty EQ app or the Mighty EQ X PC application. So this will be touched briefly. Why do we need room calibration overall? No room is perfect, of course. Yeah, so we have reflections, we have some limitations in placing the speakers and so on. You know, you're all aware of these kind of limitations. And here, my first recommendation is try to get your best possible setup before doing any calibration by these tools. Yeah, see that you can place your speakers in a proper space. Try to move them slightly around. See where you can put your subwoofers. See if you can do some room treatment, be it a carpet on the floor, some books in a shelf on the wall, just to limit reflections. Because if you have done this first, the calibration tool has to work less, and less calibration is always better. Well, the best would be, of course, you have a perfect room, which isn't available. Hence, these Audyssey and Dirac room corrections do help you after you have done everything possible in a room, with the standard elements. So let's have a quick look. So I already mentioned Audyssey, Dirac. We have both into our products. Both help to improve the performance. You can actually store the calibration files of Audyssey and Dirac in parallel. So, you know, we have the speaker presets in our products. So, for example, you can put an Audyssey calibration on preset 1 and the Dirac calibration on preset 2. That's most likely not the practical way for the end consumer, but might be interesting for you to just compare these kind of different settings. And you know, we also have our quick select or smart selects on the AV receivers, which also do store these calibration or the speaker preset or the Dirac filter slots. So by that, you can also switch easily between Dirac slot 1, slot 2, slot 3, for example. Yep, but that's just a brief one here now. Let's see. The Audyssey calibration, as said, no room is perfect. All rooms are distorted, but until now, that was the slogan of Audyssey, because it will help you to improve your room acoustic. And what you can see here is what I already mentioned. We have actually 3 types of Audyssey tools available. First of all, let me start with that the basic Audyssey we built into our AV receivers is it's a free of charge tool which is integrated in all of our AV receivers, and Roland is just showing into the camera the Audyssey microphone, which is coming with all of the AV receivers in the box. So it's very easy to use. Every customer can easily hook it up, because we also have this paper rocket microphone stand, which helps to improve the overall calibration. And so it's a tool in Audyssey integrated into the AV receiver. It's a tool every customer can actually use, and which really helps to ease in the setup process. For even novice customers, it's not a challenge. They just have to follow the on-screen guide, and Audyssey will do the rest for all the calibration. No additional cost. Proven quality we have with Audyssey, because thousands of AV receivers have been equipped with it and used over the years. We have the Mighty EQ app. That's the one available from the App Store for roughly €20. And then there on top is also the Mighty EQ X computer application, PC application. So let's have a closer look to Audyssey. Mighty EQ is actually the name of the calibration tool. What it does is speaker setup. So it identifies how many speakers are in your room. It does a leveling for the different sensitivity of the speakers. It identifies the size of the speaker. So is it a small, is it a large speaker? Does it do the crossover? And it does do the crossover. Very important, this is not done by Dirac. So that's something you have to keep in mind when working with Dirac, but we're coming to this one back later. Then we have, of course, the room calibration, which is doing actually the adapting the frequency response of the speakers to get a more harmonized performance all over the room, and a more balanced sound quality, better imaging, more focus, more immersive sound performance. Dynamic volume, dynamic EQ are two additional tools of Audyssey, which helps to improve the listener experience. For example, if it comes to different volume levels, you can automatically or dynamically adjust these with the Audyssey dynamic EQ. Or you have also dynamic volume if the input source is changing or you have a commercial coming in, so automatic volume will be adjusted. Convenient features, if I would use it in practice, I'm not pretty sure, because I always hate everything which is somehow dynamic and automatic I can't control, but that's maybe more me than the standard user. We have three different types of Mighty EQ calibration. That's a Mighty EQ, Mighty EQ XT, and Mighty EQ XT32. They all differ a bit in the number of measurements you can do, the filter resolution, and some additional features. But for example, on the X32, we have sub-EQ and LFC, which I will show on the next slide. We mainly do use the Mighty EQ XT and the Mighty EQ XT32 in our Denon and Marantz AVRs. Sub-EQ, is improving the overall bass performance via your subwoofer, and sub-EQ is able to not only calibrate one subwoofer independently, but if you have more than one, so 2, 3, or 4, like our new AVRs are even supporting, this can be handled by a sub-EQ HT easily. And then we have the low frequency containment, which helps to keep friendship up with your neighbors, because the bass is not traveling through the wall. So there's some clever algorithm to prevent that. Then let's have a look to the Audyssey Mighty EQ app. You know, it's available for Android as well as for iOS from the two stores. And it's a tool the customer can buy. So let's say the more advanced customer who actually wants to play around a bit more with all the calibration and frequency curves, because that's what you can actually do. You install it on your smart device, or your smart device can be an iPad as well. And you can see then you can do the whole calibration via the smart device. You get information what has been measured. You can see a before and after correction, and you can also then start to fiddle around with the correction curves. You can see on the left lower side the image that you can actually define a target curve, or in the middle picture of the lower row, you can see that you can also limit how far the correction should take place. And this also takes care of subwoofers. And so it's a very handy tool just for 20 bucks. So it's very, let's say, effective and nice to work with. The other solution is, of course, a bit more advanced. It's also a PC application offered by Audyssey. It's a Mighty EQ X, and as said, it's more advanced. You have more flexibility in adjusting your curves, setting the target curves. You can do measurements up to 32 points in your room. So it's it's more for the professionals, actually, which really want to do perfect calibration for the customer. The nice thing to mention here is this tool, of course, you have to buy it as well. You need a license, which is roughly $200. The nice thing is this tool is working with a calibrated microphone as well, which you can purchase for roughly $80. But you can also use the former Audyssey Pro calibration kit and the microphone which came with this kit. Yeah, so you know, these microphones also had some calibration files which you could upload to the software, to the Mighty EQ X software, and then you have a calibrated microphone for your measurements. And that's, I think, very powerful and crucial for even refined room correction. And as said, you can use the old microphone. There's an adapter needed to do that, which will roughly sell for roughly $50. So that's quite a nice overview, I think, on Audyssey, what it can do. It's very easy to use for everybody. Yeah, even novice users can easily set up the AV receiver with Audyssey. It does all the speaker calibration, and you are done. You can go under the hood using the Mighty EQ app if you like, or even go one step further with having the Mighty EQ X running on your computer. So quite a wide portfolio of customers' need we can serve with the Audyssey technology built into our AV receivers, and which is in the first step free of charge. If you go to the app, it takes you 20 bucks. If you go to a professional calibration on a computer, it takes you roughly 200 bucks. Okay, now let's have a look into Dirac. A very nice feature as well, another solution of room calibration. And why did we put it into our receivers? Why we already have Audyssey? It's just because we don't want to define what the customer has to use. So it's also, if you look to audio formats, we have Dolby Atmos, but we also have DTS-X. Yeah? So we are not saying, hey, Dolby Atmos is a holy grail and that's the only one we're going to support, but we also support DTS-X. And that's actually what we're doing here as well. We also do support a second room calibration tool, the Dirac solution. And of course, we also got the request from the market, especially from the custom installer field, that they want to have a solution on top of Audyssey, because Audyssey has one limitations which Dirac overcomes. On Audyssey, you will have to connect your microphone to the AV receiver. In some custom installation projects, that's just impossible because the receiver is somewhere hooked up in a rack, somewhere in the basement, and you have your home cinema in the living room. So that's not going to work. With Dirac, you have the possibility to connect the microphone to your computer. So you are independent to where the product actually is located, where the AV receiver is located. So let's have a look inside Dirac. What does it bring us? It's a unique impulse response correction, what Dirac is doing. Overall, the result is a tighter bass, improved imaging, so sound staging and positioning, more clarity, focus of the different sound elements. It's more precise. That's what actually Dirac is promoting, and which is working pretty nicely. As already mentioned, it's custom installation friendly because the microphone will get connected to the AV receiver. And you also use a microphone which also has a calibration curve. As I mentioned with the Audyssey Mighty EQ X, You also use a microphone which is calibrated. That's also what's going to happen here. And I'm going to show you on one of the later pictures how this microphone looks like. We actually have the box over here from Mini DSP, the UMic 1, which we do recommend. There's also a UMic 2, but you're actually doing fine with number 1. I recommend to use a tripod as well, because without a tripod, you don't get exact measurements. You can do your target curve settings. You have many configuration and adjustment options in the firmware, which is in the program which is running on your computer. We're going into it in a bit, and it's actually, I call it designed for expert, because it's not just like a plug and play we do with the Audyssey, which is built into the receiver, and the customer can easily use it via the graphic user interface of the AV receiver, which is shown on the TV. But you have to hook up your computer. It needs to be connected to the same network like the AVR is. You need the USB mic, you need the tripod stand, and you have to understand a bit of room acoustic and also frequency response, target curve settings, crossovers. So it's a bit more complex. So that's why I would say it's designed for expert or for specialists. Yeah? So it's not for everybody out there. So because we are going to show you how the system works, but in the end, you will have to practice and play around with the system to understand how to get the best solution out of it, the best performance. Custom installation and specialist friendly. One solution built into or supported in our AV receivers right now, that's the Dirac Live calibration. In addition, on top of these, there's also Dirac Bass Control and Dirac ART. So these technology of Dirac we are studying now, and we are quite confident that especially the Dirac Bass Control we are going to support end of this year, beginning of next year. Dirac ART is still under discussion when we are going to do that. So what actually do we handle with Dirac, or where do we provide countermeasurements? With Dirac or in a room, you actually have 4 different type of distortions. So top left is room resonances. Standing waves, especially in the lower frequency. You get on one spot a heavy bass, another spot no bass at all, because you have long wavelengths and it's canceling out, and you have these valleys and tops where you get more bass or less bass. So that's one problem, standing wave. Driver time alignment, the currency between a tweeter, mid-range, and bass chassis, that actually they should all work from the same spot. Which isn't the case always, so we can get a time alignment of the chassis itself. Early reflections in the room, diffractions, where you have your speakers close to the wall. It's pushing your, for example, from high frequency mid-range. It's directly beamed to you, but also you will get some reflections from the sides coming to your ear later on. And this will also be corrected. And room reverb, actually, the reflections coming later into to your ear, not just the direct reflections, but how long the sound stays into the room. And all together somehow smears the image and limits the performance you can get out of your system. And that's where Dirac kicks in and also corrects these elements. As said, we are going to have Dirac Live, or we already have Dirac Live in our AV receivers integrated now. To activate it, to make use of it, you have to buy a license, and there are 2 different licenses available. It's limited bandwidth one, which actually corrects all the frequency up to 500 hertz. Yeah, so that includes, let's say all your main speakers. For the deeper frequency range, for lower frequency range, and also your subwoofers. This frequency range will get corrected. Or you can have a full bandwidth license, which will correct from 20 hertz up to 20 kilohertz. So also taking care of the mid-range and the high frequency. Pricing is $259 for the limited one and $349 for the full bandwidth version. I only mentioned here the US pricing because if you go on the website and purchase a license, it will automatically redirect you to your local website where you can see for example, the euro pricing, and then also the VAT will be applied. So that's why I'm only going to mention here US pricing. You will have to just visit the Dirac site, go to a Marantz receiver, go to purchase license, and then you will actually see what you will have to pay in your region. Okay, one option is here as well. You can start, for example, with a limited bandwidth, and later on, if you think, okay, I now would like to check as well, what can I do in the mid-range, a higher frequency, you just add a $99 upgrade from limited to full bandwidth. To get everything up and running and to, let's say, guide you through the process, we put up a web manual on our websites. Actually, you can see the links underneath the page here, where we have the manuals.denon.com or the manuals.marantz.com. And if you enter that one, you can select also all the AV receivers, let's say all the products we have in our portfolio. But if you then select, for example, a Denon AVC X4800H receiver, you can get the web manual of that product. And then in the additional features which we added by a firmware update, you can see on the left-hand side, there's a column where you can select it. You also will find the Dirac Live web manual, or you can directly click these links, of course, to get to it. I will quickly run through it just to give you a start, a kickoff, and then I will hand over to Roland so he can run, so we can run through the application on a computer, because that's also easier to see, easier to understand. So what you need to get is, as mentioned, you need a USB microphone. The UMic 1 is the recommended one. And you need a tripod stand. As you can see on these red rectangle areas, that's a recommendation. What you will have to get as well is the calibration file of your microphone. If you buy the microphone, there's a number on the box or on the microphone. You go to the website of Mini DSP and enter the number, you can download the file. This file we need to load into the application of Dirac Live. That's what Roland is going to show you in a minute. Then, before you start any calibration with Dirac, you have to set your speakers layout in the AV receiver, because Dirac is looking into the AV receiver. What configuration do I have? So first start with setting up your speaker configuration. Best is also, if you already know, are my speakers full bandwidth, or is it not full range speaker, where to set the crossover. So if you know, let's say all my surround speakers are small speakers or bookshelf speakers, I can already say, okay, it's not the full range speakers, and I do set the crossover, be it 80 Hertz, 100 Hertz, 60 Hertz, whatever you think is the right value. This is not detected by Dirac. Very important to mention. So you have to define the capabilities of your speakers in the AV receiver best before you do the calibration.
Dirac is always using treats always the speakers as full band speakers while measuring. This means it doesn't matter if you set the crossover frequency before or after this. I would say, so in my experience, it's better to set it after this. You don't have to forget it, but if you set it after this, so from the measurements, you get an idea where to set this crossover frequency.
Okay, that may be a helpful information here. So if you understand to read the frequency response of the speaker, you can identify where to put best the crossover setting. Okay. But don't forget to set it. It's very important. Then you will have to create an account on the Dirac website, because your purchased license will be linked to this account on the Dirac website. And then you have to download the Dirac application to your computer. And from there on, everything will be guided through the application on the computer. The microphone, as mentioned, can be connected to the computer, as you can see on the left image, but as well on the right image, you can see you can also connect it directly to your AV receivers. So you have both options. Yeah, gives you more flexibility. First, I'm still going to show you our setup, just to give you an idea what we are working with here. This is now where you start the application, and you start with selecting the microphone. But that Roland is going to show you. But in the manual, of course, you will get all the additional information you still need to have to operate the application on your computer. Yeah, and also here the information how to select actually the Dirac filters in the AVR. And yeah, that's our nice cinema room over here in Nettetal in Germany, where Roland was so kind to already put everything up, including the microphone. And you can see that's how it's positioned in the room itself, computer beside the microphone in this case. But you also you don't need to be that close to the microphone with your computer. There's also possibility to have a USB extension cable of a length of, for example, 5 meters, but make sure it's an active one. And then you can also have a longer distance between your microphone and your computer itself. Okay, as you can see, the microphone is now pointing upwards. If you download the calibrations file from the Mini DSP website, you will see there are 2 options. Just ensure you pick the right one for this calibration. So Roland, I think you can take over now.
So after installing the Dirac Live software in the latest version, of course, and putting all the devices which are Dirac Live compatible on the same network as the laptop, and buying the license, as Oliver said before, so I now see the Dirac Live ready devices, which is the Mara and Cinema 50, which we have here. And of course the AVC A1H, which we have in our home cinema room. And I will now choose the AVC A1H and connect to it. And now it lists all the microphones which are actually connected to your local system.
One important one, Roland. On top left, you can see the configuration of the speaker setup in your room, right? So that's what I mentioned before. It's very important. Before you start the Dirac, you have to do your speaker setup so the system can see what actually is installed. It doesn't automatically detect all the speakers in the room, but it will just take the information set up in the AVR. So you go to the speaker setup, manual speaker setup, select your layout, and that will be taken over from Dirac.
Correct. Right? So this is a good way to check if the basic speaker configuration is correct. So if it's for example a 9.2 and you know you don't have any front wide speaker installed, so when there's something wrong, you need to go back. You need to check your speaker configuration in your AVR.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So, and of course you already see filters in here because the AVC A1H was already calibrated with it. You also see the UMIC 1, so which we use as the calibration microphone with the gain, but it also says no microphone calibration.
You see a couple of microphones here, also the ones installed into your computer. Yeah, so correct. Of course don't use these because they are really bad and they are not calibrated at all. But you also can see the UMIC 1 USB microphone. That's very important to mention. It's connected via USB to your computer. Yeah, and that's the difference actually, which gives you more flexibility handling your computer, not having it in the same space like, for example, the AV receiver is located. Yeah?
Correct.
So you can just use your computer in the listening room, and it's also possible to extend the cable.
Yeah, but you need an active USB.
Active USB cable, right? Yeah. Okay, good.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so I click on microphone calibration and then load from files. So, and you mentioned, of course, you have to give your serial number on the Mini DSP webpage. When you will get two calibration files, and you take the one with the 90 degrees.
Right. Okay. So the 90 degree is the one which is pointing upwards. Yeah. So
Correct.
the 0 degree is the one pointing directly to the speaker.
Yeah.
But for AV setup, multi-channel, pick the one with 90 degree pointing
Correct.
upwards.
Yeah. So I will load this. And then you see the curve in here, and that means the calibration curve is successfully loaded.
All right. Yeah.
So yeah, when we quickly go to proceed here on the right lower corner, and then we see the volume calibration setup. So yeah, in the volume calibration setup, the speakers needs to be set up in a specific range so that they don't differ that much. But this is no exact volume matching required in here. Actually,
You just have to get the microphone and the master volume somehow matched so that all speakers can actually output a tone and it will be picked up by the microphone.
Yeah, that's right. So
I think if you click on the right arrow, the white one, you can see all the speakers which are in your setup, right? On the right-hand side, yeah, there's a little white arrow. Now, if you go up and to the right edge of the screen, yeah, here we go.
yeah, of course. So
Yeah.
then you see all the speakers in the setup, which is in here. And also there you can see if your speaker configuration is correct.
Correct, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But it will automatically go through it if you click on the play button. So
Right, yeah.
But first of all, yeah, please check that the microphone gain is set to 100%. So this is very, very important. So it doesn't have to be lower. And when you, yeah, let's start with a speaker, for example, the front left speaker. And then you increase your master output to hear something. And you have to increase it to, yeah, approximately get, let's say, the 20 dB or 21 or whatever.
Minus 20, yeah.
It needs to be between minus 30 and minus 15. So I click on the center. Yeah, it's
more or less
perfect.
the same range, right?
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay. If you can't reach, or if the master volume needs to be pushed up more and you still can't reach the minus 30, minus 20 dB, then you will have to increase the gain of your microphone.
Yeah.
So that you get a bit more signal from your microphone.
That's right. I always try to avoid it because it can lead to, let's say, signal to noise issues. But yeah, you can do it if it is really necessary.
Yeah, right.
That's true.
And one more is on the master volume, the master output, it automatically stops at the red area, right?
That's right, which is minus 6.5 in hours. So I set it now
You
to...
can just do it and to show.
Yeah.
You see there on top left, there's a red lock coming up, so you can't increase any further to protect your speakers. You can override if you want, and then you can even increase further. Yeah, but normally it's not needed.
No, normally it's not needed. So I will go back to minus 17.5, of course. So yeah, so there will be full band noise, of course, outputted, by the way, on this level in here. So except for the subwoofers. For the subwoofers, this will be
different signal.
The different signal.
Okay.
So yeah. So please go through all the speakers and
maybe you can just do one more. This is around back right, for example. Yeah. And what you can do now is you see the 0 dB, I think it's mentioned on top, this black bar. I think you can pull it down, right, to adjust, or yeah. So if your level is too high, you can adjust by that to bring it closer together. Yeah, doesn't need to be perfect, but more or less in the same range. Yeah, let's say if you take 20 dB as the center level, you can go minus 17, minus 23. So in this range, it's all fine. The rest will be done later on.
Yeah, but usually this is not really necessary.
Right. Yeah. Okay. This
setup.
you now do for all the different channels, just to see, or for all the speakers, just to see they're all somehow in range. Yeah. And that's a different test tone then.
That's a different test tone then. That's right.
So once this is done, you can proceed. And we will get the select arrangement.
Yeah, you're right. Select the arrangement is just how many measurement positions you want to use. And I actually recommend to use always the wide imaging because, so if you select less, you can at maximum select these number of positions. But if you, for example, go here and select more,
if you go to the tight focus one.
Yeah, tightly focused.
Yeah, so it's one chair and they say nine measurement positions.
9 measurement
you
positions.
Can do. Yeah. If you pick the other one,
it is these 9.
You have
plus
13 and
more.
Yeah, and the maximum one is 17 measurement positions.
True.
Right. Okay.
But you can always measure less than these positions. So even if you only want to measure 9 positions, so you can select the 17 measurement positions,
right.
Go back and then measure these, and you can save this, and later on you can maybe add another measurement.
Picking this arrangement gives you the full flexibility to measure.
Correct.
But you don't have to do all the measurements.
No, you don't have to do all the measurements.
I think we can see it nicely on the next screen, right? So we set now a select arrangement, the maximum on measurement position 17. Right, and that's what's shown here as well, right?
Yeah, that's true. So this is the main position, of course, which is in your ear height. So it's the main listening position, or if it is, like this, it's a sofa. It's maybe in between. The two are sitting in the sofa, and then you have measurement positions before your position and before your sofa, for example, and behind your sofa.
Right. Okay.
So and of course you have it. Not in the same in the ear height, but you have it above.
Slightly above,
slightly below.
Right,
That's true. And for example, this is, above you, and this is in front of you.
So just to be clear, the microphone head, should actually be in this area where we now see the dot, and it should, of course, point upwards.
Correct. Yeah. It should always be pointing upwards, and it will of course recommend which position to measure next. But if it is uncomfortable for you, you can also choose any position you want to measure first, and then go back to the other position later on. Also,
right.
And and then here with this, you will start, of course, the measurement, and when the signal will be reproduced from all the speakers. And the subwoofer, and again at the last measurement will be taken from the front left speaker again to compare what was measured in the beginning and what was measured at last, and to see if it is really nearly identical.
Right. Okay. Fine. Sounds good.
Yeah. Okay. So I already prepared measurement. So meaning
normally you would now proceed measuring, and then. Once you have done some measurement, you can proceed to the next page.
That's true.
What you're now going to do, because it will take quite some time with having our speakers installed here, 15 plus 2 subwoofers. So you're now going to load a file which you already did record before, which you measured before.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. So to show to you what was done and how it looks like, of course, in this measurement screen. So it will now jump to the filter section, because I already did it, but we can go back to measure, and we can see that what was done, for example, for the front left speaker at the selected position. So because this position is selected, and I see all the responses from the speakers at this position.
So all the measured frequency range of the speaker in the main position.
Yeah, in the main position. Now I changed to a different position, and I see this, and I can pick a speaker in here, and I see the response in here.
Oh, and I can see you have been lazy. Yeah, you skipped 4 of the positions. You didn't measure.
That's true. So it was 10 o'clock yesterday, okay. So it was too late.
So it was
but
all the ones which are black and checked, you measured. The other ones aren't. I see. Okay.
Yeah, that's true. That's right. So when I can, of course, proceed to filter design, and then it will, you will obviously see
a so-called auto filter, auto target curve. So Dirac is creating an auto target curve which has a slight, let's say, base increase, and it is in the heights, so it's a bit tilted.
It's slight roll off in the high frequencies
That's,
already.
that's right.
Okay.
It's slight roll off in the high frequency range, but this is really according to your let's say, to your taste.
Okay, so the red line is what you measured for the front left speakers, if I can see
That's
it
true. So
correctly,
you can change the speaker in here, and the color will also change. So for example, this is the center.
Yeah, okay.
There's also a different target curve, which is an auto target curve, which is done by Dirac automatically.
Right.
So, but you can edit this, of course. So, but this is grouped, let's say it like this. So group 1, the front right, front left are using the same target curve. If you want to have the front left, for example, using a difference, so you can ungroup it from group 1.
Right, yeah, but actually doesn't really make
so
much of sense.
No, it doesn't make much sense, but it's possible. So everything is possible. But you can also see the measured, and you can also, in addition, have the
maybe
corrected.
You use again the front left because
the color
was much better to see.
Yes, sometimes the colors are a bit,
right. So now we have 3 lines actually. So we have the sin one, which is the measured frequency.
Yeah.
Then we have the yellow one, which is the target curve,
yes,
which is predefined in this respect. And the thicker one, also reddish one, is the final result, the corrected curve.
This is the corrected curve, correct.
Right. Okay.
So, but of course, you can also, for more overview, so you can deselect what you want to.
Yeah. Okay. We have a lot of options in here. That's why I said you need to play actually with this software to understand it perfectly, and also to understand what kind of settings are possible and which setting does give which result. So you have to spend some time with it.
That's true. So you can also of course put your own target curve in here. So when you have your dots in here.
Oh, how have you done that? I couldn't follow that.
So I just right-clicked on the curve.
Okay.
I just right-clicked on the curve and I said convert the target curve to frequency to frequency steps, and then I can of course change.
Right. Yeah. You get all your dots which you directly can touch and manipulate.
I
call it.
That's
now.
right.
Adjust.
Yeah.
Right.
And you can add dots as you like and so on. You can also add, let's say, predefined target curves. So if you have another target curve, for example, like this Hamann target curve, so you can apply maybe these target curve in here. When you have a selected a different target curve, there's a big community. And this community, they prepared a lot of target curves, of course.
Right, okay.
Which
if you now touch one of these dots, you can also move it left, right, yeah? So if you want to change the frequency, you want to change.
For example, to 1 kilohertz.
For example, or you can do a right click. And you can also add another dot. Yeah. You can delete it.
I can delete it. So if it is, but I can also add this.
You can also add. Yeah. So by that you have the full flexibility over the system, or full control over the system with the flexibility.
Yeah, that's true.
Tweak where you want.
Yeah. Whatever you want. You can take snapshot from specific situations where you think, oh, maybe I want to go back to this one time and so on. And when it is saved, so your situation is then saved, and you can always go back to that.
Right. Okay.
So this is very important. You can not only see the target curve, so which is more a frequency thing. You can also see the impulse response, of course. The corrected and the uncorrected impulse response. Of course, the corrected is a bit later because you have a delay time, which is also measured by the system,
right?
Which is clear for a specific speaker to have the signals from all speakers arriving at your position.
The timing.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But
this you can't touch. Yeah, so you only can touch the frequency response.
That's right. You only can touch the frequency response. Yeah, and if you have let's say, if you have a target, whatever. So we didn't talk about curtains.
The curtains, exactly.
Of course, you can also do this. What you can do with the Audyssey app, you mentioned it before.
Yeah.
In the Audyssey part, you can limit your frequency range.
You can define where actually the curve should be corrected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True.
Optimized,
Yeah,
however you call it.
Yeah, that's right. Because many persons like the high frequency range of their speaker. They don't want to be touched it in their room, which they have, and they only want to correct, let's say, frequencies up to 1 kilohertz, or what the limited Dirac version does. It always, it cuts at 500 hertz.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you buy the limited version, you will get the curtain fixed like this now.
Like this.
Yeah? So it's 500 hertz and you can't touch the higher frequency.
No, but you can go lower.
You can
want
lower,
to.
of course, yeah, but you can't go up. Yeah, that's only possible having a full bandwidth.
Yeah. So of course you can also increase the
lower cutoff frequency.
The lower, right? Which may be sometimes really useful. Because the system doesn't have to put that much energy into these frequencies if the speaker cannot reproduce.
Right. If you have, for example, a bookshelf which anyhow only goes down to 100 hertz, 90 hertz, you don't need, or you shouldn't actually try to correct the frequencies from 20 to 70 hertz to be boosted, because it just can't be handled by the speaker.
For example, this is the top surround, the voice of God. As you can see, the frequencies up to 70 hertz, which can't really be handled.
Exactly. So you don't want to put energy in there, which will be just lost. Yeah, right.
That's right. So also this graphics give you a hint where you have to set your crossover frequencies.
Right.
Because for this top surround speakers, I wouldn't set my crossover frequency below 90 hertz, maybe at 100 hertz or something like this. So I would note it down to maybe correct this afterwards in the speaker settings, because you have to.
Yeah. So that actually the AV receiver knows which frequency range should be sent to a certain speaker. Yeah. So that your base management.
True.
Right. Okay.
Okay. So, but once you are fine with it. So once you think this is a very, very good result, or you want to try it out, so then you can proceed to filter export, and there you see the 3 curves. Of course, you can
the 3 slots we talked about.
That's right.
So you can do let's say
3 slots.
Define 3 target curves, or
3 target curves where the filters for these target curves are sent then to the AV.
Exported to the AVR. And in the AVR, you can select it either via the setup menu, the audio section, where you have the Dirac filters, which you can select, or you use the option menu.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's right. So, but you can give them names. The names are then also shown in the AVR, which is very useful. So I recommend to use names where you know what you have done there.
Yeah.
So
I brought the example that, that you have a daylight setting, where you watch on your TV screen. You have a night setting where you have your projector. Yeah, so different acoustics of the room anyhow, or you have also a family setting where you have a very wide spot for the sound. Yeah.
So I put it. I made it daylight, whatever. It's the target curve, daylight target. I don't know how to call it. And then I can save it, or if I have already a filter in it, I can replace the existing filter. Then it's preparing the export, and then it's exported to the AVC A1H. Right. In this case, it's slot 1.
Right, okay. And we talked about we have 2 speaker presets, speaker in the AV receivers, speaker preset 1 and speaker preset 2. If you do Dirac calibration for the first time and you don't do any change in your settings in the AVR, it will first store on speaker preset 2 these slots, slot 1, 2, 3. If you want to have it stored on speaker preset 1 instead, you first have to select the speaker preset 1 before you start your Dirac calibration.
That's right. But also this is only working if your speaker preset number 2 is already populated.
Right.
Because otherwise it will automatically use number 2.
Right.
So if it is not used before, it will automatically use number 2. But if this is already full and you put it, you select number 1 in your AVR, it will populate number 1.
Okay. Actually, by that you have the possibility to store 6 different filter curves.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. I would say then we are done with the application. One more time, just the coverage, getting started, connect your AVR, run the software on the computer, set the speakers, as we just mentioned. You have to do it before you start the calibration. Ensure that the speaker layout is good reflected, and default, as said, is preset 2, where the filters will be loaded to. If you want to have it on preset 1 of the speakers, just select before you do the calibration. Yeah, speaker set layouts, crossovers, you can do before or after. If you do it after, you can get some information already out of the measured frequency responses of your speakers. That's then maybe a good guidance where to set the crossover. Yeah, then you launch the Dirac application on the computer, and from there, yeah, you have the web manual which will guide you through, but you also can just, let's say, what I would recommend is play around with the application to get used to it, to understand it better, what the options are, because there are so multiple options that you really can tweak every little bit and piece in there. Getting it tested, of course, you will need a license. As Roland said, or as I mentioned before, you have to create an account on Dirac website, and you have to actually purchase a license to do a calibration of an A receiver. Okay, that's it from our side so far. We are running really out of time. I'm very sorry about that one. I will now ask Frederick for questions.
Yes, thanks, guys. Plenty of questions and a couple of suggestions as well. So to start off, do we provide any paperwork in the box to guide the consumers to Dirac or the Dirac website? I think we have a better solution.
So you can, right way.
Yes, so if you have updated the AVR and you go through the settings and you see Dirac, once you click on Dirac, you will see the QR code. You just take a picture or you use the phone to snap the QR code, and that will guide you to the actual website. So if you have a Marantz, it will be Dirac something something Marantz. If it's a Denon AVR that's eligible, you will see Denon / and there you will see then the devices that are compatible. If your device is compatible, of course it should be because it already showed you that you have Dirac, you then purchase a license based on your needs. There's some suggestions that say you can start with the limited range, because the majority of the calibrations is actually done on the bass part, but there are of course some acoustic issues that are in the mid-range and the high frequency to further fine-tune, so which allows you to upgrade. You can even buy the first package, the limited bandwidth first, and then add the $99 to upgrade. You're not going to lose that value to get the full bandwidth as well. There's a couple of things. When I saw you guys using the curve, I'm not sure, I was not able to replicate on my Mac, but they were telling me to add more points in the target curve. You can right-click or control right-click, and then you can insert additional points to redraw the curve the way you like it.
Correct, so yeah, and then you can touch the points and pull it up or pull it down depending on what you would like to do on this specific frequency. And you can add, I don't know, as many points as you like. It will give you enough flexibility.
Let's go to the next question. Are there any other mic files for other brands? So the way I understand is Dirac needs a digital microphone that has a built-in calibration file. The UMIC one from Mini DSP is the one that is the most available. So you go to minidsp.com. It's a company in Hong Kong that offers for $79 I believe, the UMIC one. That one does 24-bit 48 kilohertz. The UMIC 2, which is, if you really want to take it to the next level, is 192 and even 32 bits. So that's quite a big difference in terms of pricing to actually almost get the same kind of results. So I can't judge because I don't have used that, but we had a lot of questions. What's the difference between UMIC 1 and UMIC 2? So what you need is a digital microphone, not the Audyssey microphone, which is an analog microphone.
Yeah, it needs to be a USB mic,
yeah,
which you can connect to your computer directly. And you have seen in the shown microphones available for the calibration that even your computer microphone will show up. Of course, we can't recommend to use that one because you don't have any correction file for it, and the quality of these microphones is for sure not adequate to do a professional room calibration. Yeah, so that's why you should use an external USB microphone, put it on a tripod, and then you also can move it around on the specific positions.
So a couple questions about the licensing as an end user. If I have 2 or 3 in my house, AVRs, do I need one license for the computer, or is the license attached to the device? It's obviously attached to the device, right?
Yes, correct, Frederick. Yeah, so you need to have a license per device. If you sign up for this program of Dirac as a retailer, you will get a license which makes you, enables you to do different calibration on different units. That one is not linked to a product itself.
Yes, and then the next question was, what happens if something happens to my AVR and it needs for servicing, or I get a replacement? They will then have to talk to Dirac to, believe it's the serial number or the MAC address that they need to give so they can transfer the license from the old AVR to the new AVR. Is that correct?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, you won't lose your license, which you once paid.
So we mentioned all the microphones to be used. If a certain amount of experience and audio knowledge is needed, would you advise that Dirac is a tool for consumer end user or rather an add-on service? So we did kind of touched on that a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so let's say it's an add-on. It's a tool for specialists, but there are also specialist end users. Yeah, so there are some, I now call it nerds, which are really into it and like to play around with it. There's a big community around REW, Room EQ Wizard. They are playing with these kind of room correction tools, and of course, they can also operate Dirac. Yeah, so but the main focus is, of course, that a dealer is taking it over and doing it for the end consumer in CI projects, or if he is going to set up a high quality home theater system in the living room, then yeah, it's a nice add-on features, an additional service the dealer can sell towards the customer.
Okay,
Yeah.
so how do you access? You said 6 slot slides. So we have preset 1 and we have preset 2. So preset 2, we have slot 1, slot 2, and strat 3 for Dirac, and then for Audyssey. How do you access them? I think you can select them by source, and you need to go through options, and then you can see in the options whether it's Audyssey or Dirac based on what speaker preset you originally have, and then you should be able to switch there, if I'm not mistaken, between the different slots, between the different filters. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah. You can also you can do it either over the setup menu and audio, where you also in the past or currently can select the Audyssey correction curves. Yeah, and here you will also then see Dirac available. That's one possibility. Or as you mentioned, you go via options, and there you can also select then slot 1, 2, and 3.
which is much easier, I guess.
Which is faster, of course,
Yeah.
yeah, and easier.
Right, so going back to, you mentioned that you need to go to the speaker setup to tell the AVR where the crossover points are. So you need to kind of set it up first so it knows what kind of system you have, how many speakers you have before you can do a Dirac calibration. I was also understanding that if you previously have done an Audyssey calibration, it already has that information, and then Dirac, which will be stored in preset 2, will copy that information from preset 1 as a base to start with. So you don't have to start all over again Is my assumption correct?
Yeah. So yeah, of course, if you do it for the first time, then you open up Dirac for the first time, you have nothing in preset number 2. So this is automatically copied from preset number 1. Correct.
Understood. Okay. The community settings that you were talking about with the Harman curves, is that something we can share maybe in the link or in the follow-up email? That might be
there are
handy.
also, you can also find some curves officially on the Dirac website, by the way. So yeah, but we can share.
Awesome. Does Dirac take a weighted average of all the speaker measurements at the various positions and then display it as the measurement for that speaker? So if we are measuring front left in the 17 positions in the room, the display is the average of all those measurements.
Of course, the distances and levels which is taken for the major seat, so meaning for your first position, for your first main listening position, and the response which you see on the last page for, let's say, one speaker, so is the average response, yes. So the mean response.
Right, I think IMAX Studios, the cinemas themselves, they are using Audyssey calibration.
That's correct, yeah.
So that's a good reference. So it's definitely something that can be taken into account. Is Audyssey going to catch up and offer a remote solution where you can connect? I think this is the multi-QX solution, right? Where you can connect it.
Right.
Correct, yeah.
I would recommend that. Time correction is also made by Dirac, or the speakers should be set with a laser precision in terms of distance?
No, time. No. Please.
So that's also taken care of by Dirac.
Yeah, but the interesting thing, of course, so it is shown in the AVR setup. If you check it afterwards in the AVR setup, it is not shown in meters. It is shown in milliseconds. So, and of course, one of your subwoofers is always the one which has 0 milliseconds, I guess, because the subwoofers is taking, let's say, the longest processing time because of the integrated amplifiers.
Right.
Exactly. An example, if we sell a demo receiver from our demo room, the factory reset, would it delete the Dirac access as well?
Not Dirac access.
Yeah, look, if the unit is back into the customer's home, you will have to do the calibration via the computer again, and you will have to load your license. So yeah, if you sell your computer with the AVR to your customer, then he can access the license, I would say.
Yeah, so but as long as the network module is, of course, not changed in service or something like this, so the license is connected to your let's say to your account, also to your Dirac account. So if you log into your Dirac account, and you have your microphone and your unit connected afterwards, and you have, of course, saved everything before, so you can load your project and then you can put it on. If you sell it to another person, this is rather difficult.
Right, so another good question, how does one set the speaker time delay adjustment using Dirac? We all know that once it's calibrated, you can go back into the setup and change the levels per channel, but what if you want to change the time delay adjustments?
Yeah, this is possible. Actually, I know that this is not possible with other manufacturers, but with Denon and Marantz, it's possible.
Okay. Another good question. Can I measure 4 independent subs with Dirac even without the multi-sub feature?
Yes.
Yes, possible.
But of course, you need our latest AVRs that have multiple subs, the 4.
Yeah, exactly. So, with Denon, it starts with the X3800, and with Marantz, it's the Simba 50.
Yeah.
The first one, supporting it.
True, but I guess all the receivers which also support Dirac are having
4 subwoofer. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, which brings us to the next question. Somebody's asking, I have an AV8802. Would it also be possible to update to Dirac?
No, that's not possible.
It's a different firmware. It's a different hardware as well, right?
Yeah, the hardware is a limitation actually. If you look to the DSP power, that's just not possible.
Is the trim to be set at -18 for all speaker brands?
Trim to be set.
So you mean adjusting the master volume so that you can see a level of roughly 20 dB, -20 dB. I will, yeah, of course, it's the same for all speaker brands. Yeah, for some you will have to increase the master volume a bit more if the speakers are less efficient. If the sensitivity is higher, you can lower the master volume. But in the end, as said, start the test tone, set the microphone gain to that you achieve roughly -40, and then fix that, and then adjust the master volume so that you can achieve roughly around -20 dB on each speaker. But again, it doesn't need to match perfectly on all speakers.
No.
It's just a range.
It's a lot of numbers and it's actually very intuitive. So if I first started up, I didn't even look at the numbers. I just played the test tone. I increased the level and I say, this sounds like a comfortable listening level for the white noise to come through all the speakers. I think this should work. And then when you start doing the measurements, if it's too loud, we'll say, sorry, you peaked. You have to do it again. So you need to bring it down. If it's too low, he's going to say signal to noise ratio issues. You need to bring it up. So it's very intuitive. You don't really need to precisely say -18, minus this and that. Just use your ears and play the test tone at comfortable level, and you will figure out if it works or not. Okay.
Yep, correct.
Good question here. Are these FIR filters or IRR?
I think these are FIR filters. FIR.
Yeah. FIR, similar to Audyssey, but in a different type of application, a different way to the test tone signal too. It's not the chirps you have. That's something we didn't show live here, but you have a sweep that goes very low to very high. So the whole frequency is played through every speaker, and then the microphone is going to pick up what frequencies are coming through and do the corrections wherever possible, right?
Correct.
Right.
Will you supply UMIC 1 for us to sell, or do we need to get that from our supplier? I think every country has a distributor. You have the possibility to directly order online from the Mini DSP website. It will ship from Hong Kong, but you can also talk to your local distributors. They have a list per country where you can order in bulk and then get better logistic support there as well. Is it possible to?
It's faster and cheaper even.
Yes, exactly.
Start to handle it. Yes. So.
Somebody is commenting. It says it is possible to open a project file without a microphone. I have it done many times in my shop. So again, we're all learning. Let's try and see. It may work on some devices. Not. I have a Mac. For me, I wasn't sure. It told me that the UMIC mic wasn't connected, but I somehow was able to load the project, make tweaks, and send a configuration file to the AVR. This may differ from platform, but I think feature-wise it should be. So my suggestion is try it out. If it works, great. If it doesn't work, then just connect the mic to make sure that it sees it in order to make the corrections. Let me see. Does bass correction reside in the AVR, or do I need to add additional DSP like a mini DSP for subwoofer calibration? No need for that, right?
Yeah, no, it's not needed. It resides in the AVR. That's why you set the crossovers. And with the latest firmware update, we actually extended the possibilities for the bass management. I think that's something you should check out because it's very capable now for all kind of different setups you want to cover.
A very good question here. Are Dirac filters also saved on a USB stick using the AVR backup method, or do you need a computer to save the actual files in case an AVR is reset, for example?
No, it's also set in the files.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. So I saved it, and we actually also received some from some of these backup files from customers, and I could reload, of course, the complete Dirac curves.
Right. Is there any mobile app to control? But you're already using a laptop. I don't really see the point of a mobile app, unless you want to tweak. I'm not sure about that one.
There is a mobile app available for Dirac, yes.
But isn't that more mentioned, is more suitable for like stereo, where you put the microphone pointing the speakers rather?
True.
That's a different.
Yeah, I didn't use it myself. I know that there is an app which looks very similar.
We should try it out. Yeah. Okay. Is Dirac active root available in the future? Again, we're looking into that. Can I Dirac calibrate curve translate to Audyssey? No, they're two completely different systems, independent. They're not compatible, which is why we have preset 1 and preset 2. You can easily compare and decide which one you prefer. That brings us to another question: which one is the more preferred one? And that's the way I approach it, is saying it's a matter of taste. You have Coca-Cola and you have Cherry Cola or Pepsi Cola, two different types of cola. It's the same calibration, but different flavors. We did notice a couple of differences, but I think it will become more apparent when the base control and the active room treatment is going to be implemented. The contrast or the difference between the two will be even more apparent. Again, it's a matter of taste. Someone told me, yes, I prefer Audyssey more for movie calibrations, for watching movie, and Dirac more for like watching, listening to music, like music videos and stuff like that. So again, it's a matter of taste. I think you also mentioned something in terms of how bass is perceived when calibrated. Maybe Roland, you can elaborate a little bit on that. Again, it's a matter of taste, isn't it? Some people prefer more directional bass, and other people prefer more dispersed bass. So,
yeah, that's true. So it really depends. It really depends on your let's say on your preferred on your preferred taste. So if it really comes to precision, of course I would always prefer the directional bass. So, and it's always also the case because many people think that bass is really not directional at all, which is not true actually. So if you look at the biological or biophysical interpretation of this, so bass is pretty much listenable and it's directional. From at least 50-60 hertz onwards.
Yeah, you can spot actually where the bass is coming from the left or from the right side. Yeah,
that's right.
That's possible. Yeah, but what you mentioned is, do I have a tight bass which is really direct and very speedy, or do I want to have a room-filling bass which is more boomy and gives me more the impression of a lot of bass and I don't know, with heavy explosions, everything is shaking, or should it be that the explosion is just hitting me hard? So it's, as you said, a matter of taste. It's the same like I do like Dolby Atmos, or I do like DTS:X more, yeah, or I prefer Auro 3D. We build it in, just try it out, what you like best, and pick the one you want to have.
Exactly, it's a matter of taste, pretty much. Robert is commenting that Dirac states they have mixed filters IRR and FIR. So thanks for pointing that out, Robert. Is there a Dirac app for Android and iOS? We already mentioned that too. I think we're almost there. Is there a certification course available for Dirac? That's interesting for installers or for sellers, that they can prove they are qualified.
I'm not aware of it.
Not yet. So I asked this during the last session with Dirac. So, and they answered they plan something, but currently it's not yet in place.
Right. Yeah. But you can get a lot of information about Dirac as well on their websites. I think also some training files how to use it best. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. True.
Okay. And as said, there's many YouTube videos available we already can learn on the Dirac application without actually having a product or a license available.
Yes, we actually have two videos from Dirac that we've uploaded on how to set it up. It's on our Sound United YouTube training channel. So if you look for Sound United training or Masimo consumer training, you will find those two latest videos on there where Phil is walking through the calibration, very easily explained within 15 minutes. So that's a very good video to fall back on. I'm going to end, because we're way over time, with one question, interesting question. Can I use multiple microphones with a microphone multiplexer for different positions for the calibration? I don't think this is how Dirac works.
No,
I wouldn't recommend, at least. Yeah, sounds a bit weird to me, the setup.
So yeah, we don't know, but actually we wouldn't recommend.
Yeah. Yeah, so I will take the final word to close this webinar. Very sorry, we nearly doubled the time. Instead of the planned 45 minutes, we did 1.5 hours. I'm really amazed how many people stayed that long online. So thank you very much for spending the time with us and being so interested in Dirac and the way we implemented it into our products, but how to use it. So yeah, many questions asked and answered. Yeah, thanks again. Thanks, Roland, for having me out here. Thanks, Frederick and Kevin. I think we are ready now to start with Dirac, and we can have a nice day. Okay, thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.